3 third-period goals by the Devils as they come from behind. They were down 3-2 in the third before getting goals from Cody Glass, Jesper Bratt, and Dawson Mercer. Mercer's into an empty net. The game-winning goal goes to Bratt, and the secondary assist went to our guest, Chico Resch. Connor Brown, 25th of the season, but more significantly, the 300th point of his NHL career. And Connor, thanks very much for joining us, and congratulations on the milestone. I know I'm not going to ask you to go through the whole journey, but what when you hit a number like that, what does it mean?
No, it's great. I mean, it's 10 years in the making, so it's been a lot of fun. I've had some ups and downs throughout the career, and times where you didn't know how much longer you're going to go, and it's been fun. I found some new life here in New Jersey, and really enjoying it, and fun guys to play with here.
Well, they're enjoying watching you here in New Jersey. Congratulations, Connor. But I just want to talk. You played with some great players, and I'm talking as a fan. The fans, know the cliches and all that. But you played with Connor McDavid, and you played with Jack Hughes. And can you just talk about the mindset of a player who's trying to complement those two guys?
Yeah, I think, first and foremost, I think it's important to be unselfish and understand that, the plays are going to run through Jack. And, where does he want the puck? When does he want the puck? How can I create room for him? And, I think, Jack's a really good, easy guy to communicate with. He's so smart. So you can talk plays. He's open-minded. He wants to get better. And, he wants, he can tell me where to go. And, I think we've learned pretty quick off one another.
Yeah, you sure have it. And I want to know just, because it's amazing how Jack has taken over just developing the team on the ice in breaks. And he's just great. Was Connor McDavid that way as well? Or was he not maybe, I'm just saying in the way they talk or how they try to set things up, were they the same or were they a little different that way?
Well, I played on a line with Connor when he was, I think he was 15 and 16 when we played in junior, and, he was that way. I never really played on his line very often when we were in Edmonton, but, I know that he's got very comfortable with, Nugent Hopkins and Hyman, and those are guys that are, he really enjoys playing with, and he communicates with that same way, and he thinks the game really well, as much skill as he has, and Jack's kind of the same way. So, for me is, Jack's success is kind of my success, and that's kind of, the way I'm trying to look at it, and try to help him come along, and because, he's such a talented player. The one thing I've been really impressed is how good he is defensively. His angles, ability to steal pucks. He's not cheating, but he's angling really well and turning things over, and he can turn it up so fast. I mean, so just understanding what his strengths are and playing to them, and I think, just the way that I, play naturally, I think it's it's a good mix, and then you throw Bratter in the mix, and who is, in a world of his own, and he's such a fun guy to play with on his own right. So, for me, I'm just having a lot of fun. I mean, really, really lucky and really blessed to play with two amazing players like that.
And you're thinking, and can I say peanut butter and jelly on brown bread? That's what that's going to be like. I've been thinking of that. But, the other thing is, since he's come back, I don't know if fans realize what a team player he is. It's just like you were great. I don't want to be selfish. I want to share it. But it looks like Jack wants the same thing. He doesn't just want to do it himself. He wants everybody.
Absolutely. No, he's aware of everybody's milestones in the room, and he wants guys to, hit benchmarks for themselves and help guys along. And so I think that's, he's a very unselfish guy and motivated in that, right? And, an incredible leader. And, he's a really inspiring kid to be around. So well-spoken. Really, like I said, really lucky to play on his line. I think, he's just scratching the surface here. And I think, sky's the limit for a guy like that.
Well, it has worked, that line, since it's been put together. Jack in the middle, you and Bratt on the wings. It's been electric to watch. It helped the Devils come back today. And Connor, congratulations on 300, and looking forward to 300 more.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Connor Brown joining us as the Devils win by a score of 5-3. I mean, I'm going to add the additional numbers here, Chico, for just a second. So Connor Brown had an assist. Brown now with 20 points in 23 games since the Olympics.
Wow.
Jack Hughes with a 2-point game, a goal and an assist, 39 points in 23 games since the Olympics. And Jesper Bratt has a 3-point game, 2 goals and an assist. And Jesper has 30 points in 23 games since the Olympics. That is top-notch performance.
Well, I would like to see, since the Olympics, has there been a threesome, a line hotter than that? I can't see it. Maybe somewhere in the NHL, but boy, and then, here's what we know. We're watching, we know when that line comes on, Jack and Bratt and Brown, look out. There's some things going to be happening. I think the fans know it, but you know who really knows it? The other team, and they can't stop them, Matty. One guy cannot take care of Jack Hughes. You're going to need to double team him, and then if you do that, you open up other areas. So they're just magical, and well, it's just in a year that we're not getting into the playoffs, Matty, at least we have had some glorious moments and excitement with those threesome.
And something to look forward to for next year. We don't know what changes will be made, and certainly whoever comes in, the new man in charge, can make whatever changes he wants. But I would suspect that those three players will be part of next season for the Devils.
Oh, yes. I don't know if I would mess with that too much. It's like if it's not broken, Matty, don't fix it. And Brownie's not just out there doing nothing. Like he knows his role, and I watched him the other night. Remember he did a toe drag? That was really special. He's got some nice skill as well, and he knows he needs to do that. And then give it to Jack, like you said. I give it to Jack, whatever. Yeah, and that's the kind of player that is most effective with someone like Jack Hughes. And you know what, Jesper Bratt does that a lot too. Jesper's a terrific puck handler, but he knows I want to give it to Jack, and then I can fill in the holes. I can find some open ice. And it's just a great combination that's been forming, and you coming up with all those numbers, I think we're going to use them again tomorrow night for the folks that didn't hear it, because that is really impressive.
And we're going to add to it. We're going to put Kyle McKenna to work. We're going to find out other hot lines since the Olympics and use it as a comparison. At any rate, we're waiting for reaction from the Devils dressing room. While we await, let's go back and listen to some highlights of today's win. 5-3, the final score over Detroit, as these teams met for the final time this season. Early on, John Gibson wound up having to not only fight off puck, he had to fight off a player, and that player happened to be a teammate. He moves across, looks for the trailer, Sherratt. That's off a skate, and now here come the Devils. It's Hughes across the line, cuts to his left, sweeps it for Brett, finds the trailer. Hamilton, the shot is blocked. Sherratt ran into Gibson, who's slow to get up. Why did he run into Gibson?
Well, because he had to run through Timo Meier, and Timo Meier says, I'm sending you flying. And I guarantee you Sherratt was surprised. But Timo Meier, we've seen him. Man, that guy is solid, and he, like he told us in the interview, he loves to hit. He loves to be involved in that part of the game, and he's not going to get knocked down in front of the net very often.
No, it was scoreless at that point. Initially, it looked like Sherratt had put one off the post. It's officially listed as a tip off the Sherratt shot by David Perron off the post, but the Devils lucky that some iron is hit, and it keeps the game scoreless. But it didn't stay that way too much longer after that iron was rung, and it was a man. We were talking about the success of the University of Minnesota at Duluth. They had another guy win the Hobey Baker Trophy last night. That was
Plant,
right? Who's just
Plant,
his prospect for the Detroit Red Wings. At any rate, as we were talking about that, Chico loves his Bulldogs. This is what happened. Puck loose at center. No, of course you're a proud alum in the Hall of Fame. In deep with a chance, they score. It's a UMD Bulldog, Justin Falk, making it 1-0. Are you kidding me? At that moment, the UMD guy scores?
Yeah, I know. It was sweet, and that was the sweetest I think it was going to get tonight for the whole team. I mean, the whole Detroit team. I thought, okay, they're going to maybe roll, but no. And Justin Falk had a big smile on his face after he scored that, but not at the end of the game.
No, so it was 1-0 on Falk's 15th goal of the season. Less than a minute later, the Devils come back. Devils tap it up ahead. Here's Jack Hughes across the line, 2-on-1. He's in with a shot. He scores! Jack Hughes snaps it blocker side. The Devils come right back and tie this baby at 1. Jack's 27th goal of the season. Jesper Bratt the assist. What's it like for a team, Chico? You've seen it. You were a goalie, so you weren't out there trying to turn the course of events with an offensive play. But what's it like for a team? All right, we're down 1-0, and then your top line comes out, and they're going the way they went.
Oh, yeah, and it's so tough to defend. Gretzky was like that. I mean, the great players slow it down to their speed. And as a defender, you're saying, come on, can we get this thing going? But Jack looked over because he had Brad. Oh, maybe I'll pass, maybe I won't. And then when he saw that the pass was taken, made a great shot. But he got it up over the pad. I said that. You can't put it on the ice generally. It's got to come up over that pad. And then he found a little hole between the blocker and the body, and it was 1-1.
After one, that's the way things stood until David Perron gave Detroit a one-goal lead with his 12th of the season at 11:59. But as the Devils showed all afternoon, they would not let Detroit get too far away from them, and it was peanut butter and jelly tying it up. By Chalowski, gives it off now to Kovacevic, to the right wing wall for Bratt. Comes way out high with the shot, they score! Jesper Bratt creates some space. There was a crowd in front, and somehow that little biscuit found its way home. The Devils have tied it at 2. 21st of the season for Bratt, Johnny Kovacevic, Dennis Chalowski, the former Red Wing, with the assist. And the Devils once again had tied it up.
Yeah, the Devils were looking good, and you just had a feeling that there was some things that were occurring, like that shot through a crowd. You would have never guessed it would get there, but Jesper Bratt, good shooter, he found the back of the net.
Into the third we would go. One more challenge for the Devils to face as Emmett Finney was able to score at the 7-minute mark in Detroit. Give them credit, too. Even though the Devils would come back, they would not let the Devils take a lead. They lead 3-2 on that Finney goal. But then in the end, Detroit's Achilles heel was shown to the crowd here on their final home game of the regular season. With the Devils trailing by a goal, they came back some 4 minutes later, and Cody Glass continued his hot hand. But they've scored. Now the Devils score, and it's Cody Glass cleaning up a rebound in front. And we're once again tied. Glass with his 19th of the season. Thought maybe he had tipped Bratt's shot earlier.
Yeah.
Because he was in front creating a distraction. But this one, no doubt about it. And he battled for that puck in front. There were two guys around him. He won that battle.
He did, Matty, and that's why I don't know that the two Red Wings knew where the puck was, but Glass did. And the other thing I watched, and I don't know if the goalie Gibson thought he was going to have help because his pad's up off the ice. So actually Cody shoots it under the pad. But again, just the battle level and then getting the puck and scoring, and just so happy he's having just a glorious season.
And so the Devils tie it up at 3 at 11:18 on Glass's 19th of the season. And then came the play of the game, brought to you by Prudential, the Devils' official financial services partner. Here comes Jack Hughes, racing out to center ice. 2-on-1 with Bratt. Jack across the line for Bratt. He scores! A 2-on-1 from peanut butter and jelly. And that combination works again. And the Devils have taken their first lead of the game. It's 4-3. And they would tack on an empty netter from Dawson Mercer for a 5-3 victory. That goal was the play of the game, brought to you by Prudential, the Devils' official financial services partner. And what did you call Connor Brown?
It's peanut butter and jelly on brown bread, and that was the goal. But I got to tell you, Sider is back, and he's really a good defenseman. I was saying he's plus 21. But I watched Jack, and Jack fakes it like he's going to pass it over to Bratt, but he shot the time before. So then Sider thinks, well, I'm got to take away the shot because it looks like Jack's going to shoot. As soon as he moved his stick out of the passing lane, Jack says, nope, that's my avenue where I'm putting this puck. And that's what he does. He drives defenders crazy. And Bratt was the recipient and just banged home an easy goal.
Pick your poison if you're the goalie. What are you going to do?
I know.
And John Gibson suffers the loss. Detroit eliminated from playoff consideration. The Devils with 2 left. They've been out of the playoffs since earlier in the week, but they play the spoiler today. They'll take on Ottawa tomorrow. Let's hear from Cody Glass.
Talked the other day with Jake, and he said, we want to close out this season with good performances and do our best. And this sort of, you trailed 3 times, but there was no quit in this one for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing hard hockey as well. They're trying to make the playoffs, so we still want to put our best foot forward. We're playing in the NHL, best league in the world, so never take a day for granted. So I feel like that's what it felt like today.
For you, for your goal, just sort of sitting there, like, what did you kind of see?
Yeah, it was a good forecheck, and going to the net, good things happen. So stuff like that happens when you get to areas of the ice like that, and it gave me a friendly bounce, and I ended up putting it in the net.
What does it mean to this group to be able to kind of, in these types of moments, rally like that, right? There's no bending from that moment.
Exactly, and like the position we're in, we're out of it. But like I said, it's
What's going on the other side?
Yeah, I liked it. I liked a lot about our game today. It took a bit for us to get going offensively. Took a penalty fairly early in the game and kind of got us on our heels a bit and let them find their game. But once we got cooking, and I thought in the back half of the first period, I thought we were pretty good the rest of the way. Dominant second period, which is what we were looking for, and to stick with it after giving one up in the third, you get it back, find a way to win the game and close it out. That's a pretty good road effort.
Well, Sheldon, again, congratulations. And just getting back to that second frame for you, what is it about your brand of hockey that when you guys are on just makes it so dominant?
Well, I think we've got some guys obviously that can hang on to the puck and make some plays, but we all season have talked a lot about the second period, and I think it can be a real strength of our team and really fuel our game if we can put pressure on the opposition, make it hard for them to get off the ice, and keep our pace of play up. So I thought we did a pretty good job of that throughout the second. Didn't necessarily get rewarded. Took a while for that to happen, but I think probably took some miles off of, especially their top defenseman in that second period that maybe benefited us later in the game.
A great forecheck effort on that Cody Glass goal, and his 19th of the season. He said he's thinking less about the goals and the points, and that has sort of allowed him to get that. What have you seen from him in his career year for him?
If he doesn't score, he's got to be thinking
very
goals.
Consistent. The goals are great. He's found ways to finish pretty consistently for us, and he doesn't need a lot of scoring opportunities. He's made good on them. But it just his overall game for me, like that's what gets him on the ice. That's what gets him, consistently put in spots that I think he feels trusted, and that's allowed him to just go out and play.
We've talked a lot about, these final games right here, and obviously knowing where you guys are not going to be making the playoffs. And one of the things Brad said is we're not going to bow out here. And this sort of feels like a real example of that because you're fighting back multiple times.
Yeah. You know what? Go back to the Montreal game where we had to come from behind and get that game squared away. Today, again, similar type of circumstances. We're on the road though, and you're playing against a team on the other side. It's essentially playing to try to keep their season alive. So, that gives us a little something, to attach to and compete against. And I thought, full marks for our players. I thought they worked hard, played pretty smart hockey game, and made some plays and. Get the 2 points. You don't hand the opposition anything. That's what we were asking of them today, and I thought they came through.
Thanks, Sheldon.
Thanks, Sheldon.
Sheldon Keefe concluding his post-game news conference. We interrupted Cody Glass's thoughts following today's win to bring you Sheldon Keefe live. Let's go back to Cody's comments.
Exactly, and like the position we're in, we're out of it. But like I said, it's it's the best league in the world, and you have to take advantage of every day you're here. So, I'm grateful that I'm able to play in this league, and I never want to have a night off. So, it's a great feeling to go out there and win, no matter what the scenario is.
For you, 19 goals this season. You keep building on that career high. What does that mean to you in the way you've sort of fit in here with your role?
Yeah, like I said, I've been saying in the past is I have a role here, and when you put your mind away from scoring goals, and I've been here to take these on face-offs, be good defensively, and kind of take the some of the stress off the top players defensive-wise. And once you forget about points and scoring, they kind of just find your stick, and it becomes easier that way. So it's a little bit of a blessing in disguise, but yeah, I found a role, and it's a good feeling to have.
There's a lot of satisfaction in eliminating a team.
We eliminated them?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks for them, but it's a good feeling. I guess I don't know. like we have stuff to play for. It's we're not going to just hand them a win. Like I said, it's the NHL, and every day it doesn't matter if you're in or you're out. You have to play as hard as you can, and we're not going to take our foot off the gas just because we're out.
Does it say a lot about the team's mental toughness, the fortitude of this team, never quit?
Yeah, I think so. It helps a lot to, everybody's still, communicating, being positive, and, in situations like this, you can get really negative and, kind of give up. But I don't see that in this locker room. And like I said, it's a good feeling to have going next year.
And that's what it's about next year, although there are 2 games still to be played. Cody Glass, you talked about it earlier, among players who want to hit certain markers, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's not going to say that publicly, but 19, he's one shy of 20. That's a nice number.
And you should be talking about that. When you think of Jack Hughes, Maddie, what do you think of? Goal scoring, right? Because he's often. But what did Connor Brown say about him? What's the most impressive thing? His back checking. Just because it's Cody Glass or Connor Brown, I don't want them to think, no, my role is just playing defense. Because I'm telling you, you don't win hockey games, you don't win championships, unless those guys have a sense. Yeah, you got to back check. Like Jack. Jack is back checking because he wants to be this complete player. They're complete players. But the reason they're having great years, you know why? Because they're smashing pucks into that goal that they've never done before. So let's recognize both are very important, but really it's his goal scoring. And Matt, we can't ask anybody. I'd love to ask about 10 players, what happened in those 40 games in the middle of the season? Because that's really, they're really good. But in those 40 games, we couldn't score, and there probably isn't an answer, but it's what did us in, and, next year, hopefully that won't happen.
Partial answer? Maybe more than partial?
Give me partial.
Number 86 was not 100%. Jack Hughes missed a good portion of those games, and then he came back, and he wasn't himself. That was a big part of it. Not the only reason, because guys need to pick up the slack. There's no question about it. But his absence, you can see what he means.
Well, you make a great point because, next year, Matty, when they start the season, this year, you knew Jack was important, right? But he has just ballooned and blossomed as a leader. He's going to be a take charge guy in every aspect. So you're right. If that had happened before he got hurt and he didn't get hurt, who knows what it'd be. But next year, that's going to be a whole different mindset going into the season.
Quickly before we wrap up, Ottawa on the horizon. The win by the Devils over Detroit ensures Ottawa makes the postseason, so they, quote-unquote, have nothing to play for tomorrow. Yeah. But Nico Dawes has something to play for tomorrow in goal. What are you looking forward to?
Well, he's going to be analyzed as his aggressiveness, how he's flowing. Obviously, the goals go through you, but, that's what I look for. And if he plays well, Matty, I think he's playing Boston. I just think if you're bringing him up, now, they bring him up just to be the backup, maybe, but let's see what he's got. I want him to play both games. And then, because Jake's got his 500, he's playing 500 hockey. That's fine. He's been rock solid. But let's see what Nico is got, and then we can decide on his future, or the Devils can, not you and I. If it's up to us, we'd have it. We'll nail it, but they're not going to ask us. But you know what I mean? I like him, but we'll see tomorrow night.
Yep, he is scheduled to start. That's already been announced against Ottawa. And we will also see the NHL debut of Tapias Villain, who has been called up, a defenseman who will be making his NHL debut tomorrow. He's a 23-year-old from Finland, a fifth-round pick in 2021 by the New Jersey Devils. So, again, that's tomorrow. The Devils taking on Ottawa. It's a game you'll hear here on the Devils Hockey Network.